I think it was pretty good. I mean, the purpose was pretty simple. It was basically just the interior angles of a polygon, of all the different types of polygons, and that was, stated right up front. We kind of showed the kids how it related to previous things, and showed the applications within the lesson. So, pretty straightforward. I mean, I think having added that handout at the end versus just going straight out of the book was very simple in kind of what they showed. In fact, I think the only practice, or the real practice, was in the homework. And it was just, here are some basic polygons, give you 5 of the angles, the last one is x plus 6, find x. So I wanted to add a little bit more, add some more of the regular polygons, and add more of the kind of more abstract versions, like here are 5 polygons sort of sticking together. So I think that was pretty good at kind of getting them past the very simple, kind of what they did before. Here's a triangle, here's 2 angles, find the third angle. That's sort of the surface view of it, but how can you use that to do kind of more interesting problems and more complicated problems? So I think making that additional handout or that additional practice for them was the most effective. So, I mean, for me, I need to know what I'm doing, but I don't need to know every single word that's going to be spoken. I remember when I first started teaching, that was sort of the thing, like, well, what do I say? What is the thing? What is the script? It's like, that doesn't work. So I have my bullet points, and like you could see in the lesson, I have it all organized in my slides, again, for me, but also for the kids, so I can see what's coming up next. They don't see that, but I see the next slide, and that's sort of my prompt to kind of keep me organized. Where am I going? Also, in my head, I don't actually write this down, but in my head, I keep organized kind of my time frame. So when do I want to get to the presentation? So I got to leave myself 15 minutes at the end. When do I want to get to the exit pass? And that's sort of a juggling routine of, how long is this going? How much more time should I let this go? When should I cut this off? So kind of, I don't know. In my mind, I'm doing that. I don't actually keep it officially down anywhere. But that's definitely something that I need to kind of keep on track and keep myself organized during the lesson. I know the beats. I just have to sort of spread them out as we go through it. I mean, kids are fine. It's a good class, and being observed is always a good incentive to be on your best behavior. But I mean, they're usually pretty much like that. Sometimes they get a little more talkative and stuff. They're a little shy sometimes. Other people are there. But the intro, the kind of routine that we've made, where they write down the dash, they start the bell work. They know that that's the thing they're doing on their own. They're not going to need help for it. And then throughout the lesson, I'm just going around. It's not so much behavior. It's more, I think of it more of like motivation. Like a kid's stuck. They're just kind of sitting there. They're not motivated. So I'm like, all right. So what'd you get next? And I'm not even helping. Like, I'm literally not helping at all. I'm just pointing to things or rereading things, or, all right, what did you get? What are you going to do next? Where are you going to start? It's just sort of little prompts as we go through. So again, not really behavior, more of just kind of keeping it flowing and keeping kids on track, making sure they're doing what they need to do. So yeah, behavior's good though. I mean, pretty good. Again, some students are more engaged than others, but definitely there were kids that normally don't choose to answer questions or choose to call out. Sometimes I will just pick on kids, that I know either can answer it or aren't paying attention enough or whatever, but there were definitely kids when I just left an open-ended question that would shout out their answer, which normally would not. So that worked out pretty good. And, majority of kids got what they needed to get done in the class, so I think it went pretty well. Again, depends on the kid. Some kids may have found it relevant or not. Again, we kind of make a joke out of some of the real life stuff with grandma being all picky and everything. But again, it just depends on the kid. I think they can see the relevance to the real world. They may not have that connection with themselves. They may not think that it is relevant to them, but at least they can see, all right, this is something, we can build this, or we could find the angle to build this bench. That is a thing that human beings do. It's not just a random, mathematical thing. Human beings don't draw rectangles on boards and find their angles. That's not an actual thing. The actual thing is, cutting this board or, designing this building or something. So hopefully as we go further into the lesson, they'll be able to see, when we are designing the floor plan and calculating areas and doing stuff like that, they'll be able to see more of the kind of real life applications. So we'll see. So the one thing that I definitely want to change, which I did change on the next period 4 when I taught it after that, was the intro thing. And I'd already changed it quite a bit from the book. The book was like, here's 5 polygons or 10 or something, split it up with your table partner and draw all the pictures. That takes forever. Drawing those things out, not very precisely, and then trying to measure them, not very precisely. And some of them were too small and they couldn't quite get it there. And then even if you did it perfectly, the answers are not correct because you can't measure them precisely. We have a limitation on our measurement tools. So changing that, maybe removing it, I'm not quite sure how I want to change that, but I definitely want to get that out of there. The triangles, dividing up the shape into the triangles was much better. So maybe in the future we just extend that and we just have everyone draw half of the polygons and just chop them up into triangles and just go straight to the actual proof. Because the inductive sort of reasoning, the measurement, we talk about that with them all the time. That is not a good way to discover a proof or discover truth about math. That's a good way to investigate it and sort of start the investigation. But of course, it is not a proof because it only applies to one specific item. So definitely changing that or removing that. But I think the rest of it, I like the back half. I like the slides that I made that were pretty good, and the handout actually worked pretty good. I was afraid it was going to be too small. Trying to save paper, of course, but I think it worked out pretty good. So that beginning part is definitely what I will change next week when I teach it again.